Hello, everyone, and welcome to Interview Tips with my amazing friend, Marc Dorio. We're going to have an awesome time over the next 30 to 45 minutes. A few things before we get started, some opportunities for you to survive, thrive, and not cry in the real world of dentisting. Our Dentist Job Connect client, Rodeo Dental, has offices in Arizona, Colorado, and Texas. Text Rodeo to 215-798-9897 to apply for a job with them. After dental school, you have the basics, but how do you develop your skills to succeed, help your patients, patient-centered care and production? We are featuring the amazing Dr. Lincoln Harris of Ripe Global, strategies for developing clinical competence and confidence without a residency. Text Ripe to 215-798-9897 to participate with that. And every one of our patients wants to get out of the chair faster with good work done in their mouth. So to accelerate your efficiency, text Crown to 215-543-6454. You will get a Crown C course on demand that is truly amazing from Dr. Michael Frazis, the lead educator at our sponsor, Ripe Global. Our team, Dentist Job Connect and Dental Nachos, has put together a guide to survive and thrive in the real world of dentisting. To get this guide, just text SURVIVE to 215-543-6454. Now, I want to share with you, Marc, we're going to welcome you and talk to you in a minute, but we're going to watch a preview here. This is a practice owner that needed an associate through Dentist Job Connect out in Oregon. I did a video with him. Let's see what he has to say.
Here with Dr. Blake Drew. This is Dr. Nacho, founder of Nachos and Job Connect, and creator of Joy for Dentists. Because Blake, how do you have your associate dentist? How long or how'd you find your associate dentist?
On Dental Jobs, Dentist Jobs Connect.
Now, every day you go into work, you have your associate dentist. You're grateful to have that associate dentist.
Extremely grateful.
So basically, you. My grandmother's right. I am very special.
She was spot on.
Thanks, Blake.
So, Marc, does he seem like a happy camper that he has help now in his dental office?
Yeah.
And in the companies that you work with, have you seen hiring be a challenge, getting enough people, the right people to deal with all
Always
this?
a challenge.
Yeah.
It's always been a challenge getting good people. It's even more challenge right now in this day and age.
I like to share positive stories. This is my friend Marc, Dr. Maggie in Chicago, who put her listing on Dentist Job Connect, and let's see what happened.
Okay.
Hi friends, my name is Dr. Maggie Augustin. I am a general dentist outside of Chicago in Elmhurst, and I am also a practice owner at Happy Tooth. Over the last 60 days, I have been working with Dentist Job Connect. I have the premium package, and I am thrilled to report that after those 60 days, we were able to hire an incredible associate. As far as our information online, Job Connect has this great dashboard that keeps you informed in who's applying and how many views you get. And once again, I am excited to say that our ad, which ran for 60 days, had 233 views. Of those views, we had 12 applicants, even though the premium package promises 4 applicants. We had 3 times that, and we had the job filled. I really encourage you to start working with Mary and Paul Goodman, Dr. Nacho and Mrs. Nacho.
3%.
Any desire to find the perfect fit for your practice.
So, Marc, have you seen with your clients, the right fit can transform the life of the founder, the CEO? How have you seen that impact, whether it's free time, whether it's the ability to grow? Have you seen that with any of the companies you work with?
Sure, the same thing. If you have good people, I can delegate, I can spend time doing other things that are more important to bring the practice forward. It's the right person for the right job in the right place at the right time. It's just so key to
yeah, it frees you up. Maggie, who's my personal friend, she wants to actually write more blogs, Marc, and she wants to actually explore that, but she can't do that if she's chair side every single day. So
that's right, exactly
frees
right.
you up for that.
Exactly.
So I'm going to just show one more thing here, Marc, and then we're going to get started here. If people are listening in on demand on Facebook Live or later, and you need a job, you cannot create the most perfect crown prep the world has ever seen without a job. Text job to 215-798-9897, and we'll be glad to help you. And if you are a successful and stressed out practice owner looking to hire an associate, text hire to 215-798-9897 or visit dentistjobconnect.com. We also like to give out free stuff. I found 100% of people, Mark, love free stuff. So we have a free scrubs giveaway from our sponsor, Fabletics. Text scrubs to 215
Fantastic.
798 enter. Yeah,
Very
right.
good.
Our dental people, they can text in. I find that they like anything free. Pizza, scrubs. I do too, Mark. So that is one of our fun things that we add here. So I am thrilled to be talking with Marc Dorio today. We're going to get to his slide here in a second. Actually, Mark, I want to show you one quick video before we get to the slide. So one of the things, this is a real story.
Sure.
A new dentist got a job and found out it wasn't the right fit. And they needed to leave, but they made a mistake. And that mistake was they signed a restrictive covenant that would not let them find a new job in the area where they bought a home. And I said to them here, how could you not have a dental focused attorney review your contract before signing it? And we have resources for our community. They can text Burn to 215-798-9897 to make sure that does not happen to them. But just in case they forget, Mark, we have a special person reminding them of this message.
Before signing an associate contract, what should dentists do? Really good advice. For more advice like this, text Survive to
So that is what we strive to do and help people like that. So I want to welcome you, Mark. Before we get started, just orient our audience. We're going to talk about professional Mark, and in a minute we'll talk about patient Mark, but talk about professional Mark, the books that you've authored, what you do, so people just know who they're hearing from today.
Okay, I'm a consultant. I guess that's generically. Background is in industrial psychology, and I work with clients, wide range of clients, that help them not just, I don't really do staffing anymore, but we do things like team building, leadership development, management development, and all those areas that help a business go. In fact, this morning I was on for 4 hours with a group of young managers in a company that wants to grow and wants to train their managers to be good leaders. So that's what I do: leadership development, team development. And my sideline is I've written 9 books, a number of them on how to get a job you want, interviewing, and areas that are career development type of books. So that's what I do. And so I work only with organizations, one-on-one with people. I got the goal, helping them be successful. I guess that's what I say. If you say, what do you do? I help people and organizations be successful.
I love that, Mark. In your book, The Idiot's Guide to the Perfect Job Interview, is that something anyone can read? Our team can put that in the chat from Amazon. Is that something you could read, whether you're finding your first job out of college, whether you're looking at, how does that help them? They read that book. How's that going to help them?
It gives them all facets of things we can talk, and we talk about in terms of what to do before an interview, during an interview, after an interview. And I even have books on how to find jobs, how to market yourself, and it's been translated to 13 languages. In fact, I brought the French one with me, and awesome. I have the Korean one on my desk. So if we talk about a universal need around the world, this is one of the most universal needs. How do you get yourself positioned in the right place and get the right job and ask the right questions in those interviews to get those jobs?
No disrespect to my education where we grew up, and I liked my high school, but we took a lot of courses that, how should I say it, Mark? I don't use any of that information anymore, like the relationship between the US and the Soviet Union in the 1980s. And I wish that we had more of this in our high school time, because I think it'd be so key in learning how to deal with people. And then if we have a hiring manager on here, or we have a practice owner, if they were to read that book, would it help them develop some of the questions that they could ask people?
Yeah, because I mean, I've had a chance in doing these books to probably interview 2,000 or 3,000 interviewers, and they generally, people do not know how to interview. They're nervous about it. They are careless about it. It's not planned. They don't necessarily know what they're looking for sometimes, and if they do know what they're looking for, they don't know what questions to ask, or they ask a lot of what I call closed-end questions for people. And I ask people to say, have you experienced a crown prep? Oh yeah, it's fine. But what does that mean? How they get the interviewee to share information so you know where this fit? And conversely, if you're an interviewee, how do you find out from the interviewer if this is a place for you? So, and it's not something nobody gives you training on this. I mean, this is something that nobody trains you to do. You're right. It's,
and it's key to your success in life.
Yeah,
and both ends.
Yeah, so it is key to success.
We have some questions for you today, and I just
fine.
Before we do that, I always like to give people a resource so people can reach out to you, and they can get a special discount for doing so. can you help them do better on interviews?
Yes.
Prepare for them. When people email mdorio@dorioconsulting.com or
Yes.
text your cell phone 609-306-1187, maybe there's an associate watching saying, hey, my last 3 jobs have been terrible, so I must not be good at asking the right questions. Can they work with you one-on-one?
1 hour, 1-on-1. We can customize, answer your questions. It makes a big difference. I've helped thousands of people have very successful interviews. So I'm here for you. Again, 1 hour time can make a big difference.
And then on the other side, I know someone personally close to me who does interviewing for our companies, and sometimes she gets very down because she says, I must not be picking the right people and people aren't staying or people leave. Can you also help that end? Can they do a consult
Yes.
with you on the hiring end?
I spent 11 years of my career when I first started recruiting people. I did executive search work in New York City, covered all around the world, also United States. And so I've been on the side of the interviewer, and believe me, your success has to be that person's success. So it's definitely a skill that you can learn to do.
Yeah, well, I'm thrilled to have that. Now, before we get into interview questions, I want to bring us back to like 2004.
Okay.
I was 27 years old. You can tell us how old you were. We can just say younger than you are now. And you hadn't seen the dentist in 30 years. So tell us a little bit about your experience with me, why you hadn't seen the dentist in 30 years, and how dental implants have changed your life.
Okay. I mean, I came from a dental family. My uncle, who was very close to, was a dentist. And at the time I was a small kid, I had excellent dental care. And when I was a teenager, I had braces. So I had no fear of dentists and was very comfortable in dental offices. When I started to work in the professional world, I got very busy traveling, especially when I was recruiting. I was going all over the world recruiting. Neglected my hygiene, my dental hygiene. In fact, my hygiene, I mean, my health, I didn't have a primary care physician. My kids did, my wife did, I didn't. And as time went on, things got worse and worse and worse. My mouth got worse and worse and worse. And my dear wife kept saying, Mark, you've got to go to the dentist. You've got to go to the dentist. And she had a very specific reason. Her uncle, who, my wife is English, and her uncle, who was in charge of the Atomic Energy Commission under Margaret Thatcher in England, brilliant professor at Oxford, had an abscess. And he refused to go to the dentist because he was so busy and actually died from that because of the complications of that. So my wife has always said, Mark, you can't have this happen to you. Please go to the dentist. Well, one year I made a New Year's resolution. I looked in the mirror, what I saw I didn't like, and I went to the dentist. And I think what kept me going is I was just embarrassed, Paul. I was just embarrassed. I mean, I'm not the brightest bulb in the chandelier, but I just refused to believe. I was so embarrassed to go into a dental office and say, "Look at this mouth." I'm not an intelligent guy, but I was more embarrassed. It wasn't fear of dentistry; it was just fear of how I'd be viewed.
I see that a lot. And you came in, Mark, and remember, and your amazing wife, Pat, who gets the most credit, more than me, for getting you there. But she said she doesn't think you'd be alive if you hadn't crossed paths with me back then, because your first visit, we were going to remove 2 teeth that Dennis Noe had 114% bone loss, but we took your blood pressure, and what happened?
Yes, I thought I was going to get a cleaning or get out.
Yeah.
And I realized I needed more than that. And I took my blood pressure I guess they were going to do the first extraction, and my blood pressure is 190/110, which is actually crisis. In fact, Paul's assistant said, please, Mr. Dorio, go to the emergency room right now. I didn't, but I went to a primary care physician for the first time in 40 or 50 years. I got myself together with blood pressure. And finally, after a couple of months of getting it, I could go back to the dentist with her permission. So I often said that Paul and his staff saved my life because, like I say, Pat's experience with her Uncle Pat was he died from an abscess. So it was a serious business for our house. So you really did save my life. And Pat definitely saved my life by urging me over all these years to go to a dentist.
And as we wrap up with this story, Mark, one of the things that I pride myself on is giving everyone the options to say no to the best treatment. So you're someone who hadn't seen the dentist in 30 years.
Right.
You had advanced bone loss. I clearly was looking at someone who didn't take care of their mouth, but I had no judgment. And I gave you the option for the best implants. I gave you the options for snapping implants or dentures. If somebody was saying, I'm afraid to tell my patients about implants, or I think they're too expensive, or they're not going to take care of their implants. You're now almost into 2 decades of using your implant.
Yes, yes.
Inspire my dentist audience as to why they should dig in, even if it's uncomfortable, and tell their patients about dental implants, even if it's costly and time consuming, and how it's helped you.
Yeah, I mean, for a short period of time in transition, Paul will tell you, I had to wear dentures with Fixodent and the whole business, and I hated it. And even though they were very good dentures, they were excellent dentures, but just the idea, taste of the thing in my mouth. When I got the implants, it was such freeing things. These implants, and again, I have up top is fixed, on the bottom I can take out, and it's the greatest thing in my life. I'll tell you, I just love dental implants. I much prefer them over having a dentures. I really do.
To kick us off with the job part, and I think what you're just such an authentic guy. You were going into companies and asking them to spend money on your consulting. You were actually on Regis and Kathy Lee.
Yes, I was.
Without the implants and teeth, would your business be where it is? Would people?
No, it wouldn't be. And we often talked about that. I was, due to my books, I was on Today's Show. I was on to a lot of television shows, and also in front of people. I'm in front of people all day, giving classes on management or one-on-one coaching. And I would first, I don't know if I'd be alive. And if I was alive, I would look so terrible that I wouldn't even smile at anybody. And they would look at my teeth and say, who is this guy? What is he? He's trying to advise me on how to be a leader, and he looks like he can't even take care of himself. So,
and that's so key. I mean, it's really key. The power of the smile, chewing and smiling is key. So now we're going to frame this in the dental world. And if you need any specific industry help from me, ask me, Mark. But we're going to start with, an associate's going out there, getting their first job in after dental school or their residency, and they want to ask some questions to know if the job's going to be a good fit. So my assumption, Mark, is people shouldn't sit down and say, how much am I going to get paid here? Right? Because it's kind of, maybe that's the 5th question, but tell us about some interview questions to assess fit.
I think one of the questions I ask people to ask all the time, if you really want to know what the job is, ask a question like this. If you were to hire me and I was to start work tomorrow, what would be some of the cases I would be working on?
I love that.
Okay? That tells you a lot already. Okay, what they're going to say. They're going to say, well, we have elderly patients here that have disc crowns, or you're going to be working with children. I mean, first of all, that's a question that tells you exactly what the job is. What do I do the first day on the job? What kind of cases? So that's one question for fit that I like.
I think it's a great one, especially, Mark, because this is a very technical job that we have, and you got to make sure that the technical expectations of you are ones that you can do, want to do, are reasonable. I mean, we're all been on Zooms after now the Zoom has become popular. So I said, hey, Mark, I need you to be my consultant, but I need you to do 12 Zooms an hour. You'll say, I can't do 12 Zooms an hour. It takes me. But if you say, hey, Mark, I'm going to have you meet with my team. We do Zooms every half hour and that's reasonable. So I think your question is great. Walk me through
what's my patient load going to be? And if they say we're going to start off doing crown preps, I mean, that tells you more about the job than just having some generic description about a job.
What I'll share with them, and I share some, the more details that the person has on the other side of the table that's hiring you, the better, because that means that they really have drilled down, pun intended, into this job. Sometimes they become too vague, Mark, which usually means that either they don't have a handle on the job or they actually don't know how many patients you can see there. So,
or from an owner's point of view, watch those closed-end questions. So again, I take the crown preps. So you say to an interviewee, have experience with crown preps? Like doing them? Oh yeah, I'm fine. Cool. That's great. As opposed to saying, tell me about your experience with crown preps. Right. Tell me what happens when you're doing this and this happens. In other words, ask those open, get that person talking to you. The poor interviewers like closed-end questions that are yes or no. No, good interviewers want to get more information.
Yeah, I mean, you're sharing gold already, because what I can tell is 100% of my time being a dentist, something goes off script each day, like patients late, the case is late. So we say to them, how do you guys handle it when something runs behind? How do you handle running behind? What decisions will you make? And that goes both ways. My associate, Mark, when she said, when she took a job with us, I said, what made what made you like our office during the observation day? And she said, I really like that you ran on time. My previous job would be 2 hours late at the end
Right,
of the day.
that tells a lot.
So running on time is a both ways thing. So
Right, exactly.
now to give you context for this, dental students are, oh, go ahead, Mark. You want to add something?
No, fine.
Oh, dental students are coming out with $600,000 in debt. They
Right.
haven't had any, and this is no judgment. I was pretty much the same way. I worked as a restaurant server. You know, they haven't had any what we would call real world jobs up until this point. And they're getting their first real world job. And they literally don't know, when should I bring up how much should I get, am I going to get paid?
Yeah.
Because I had to pay my debt. So how do you, and I just want to share with you, in our world, Mark, many of these are not ads that are well written for like a director of HR at Johnson & Johnson, where it's details. Many of them are vague. So if they need to ask about this, how would you tell them to bring it up?
Well, first of all, there's two buy signals that an interviewer makes, so the interviewee know they're interested. One is if an interviewer says to you, if you were to hire me, when could you start? That's a buy signal, which means they're interested. The second buy signal is that they ask you how much money you want. You don't ask an interviewee about money as an interviewer until you're interested. Conversely, the interviewee doesn't bring up compensation unless it's brought up. Okay. And when it's brought up, you pretty much have to know a couple of things. You have to know what you need. Okay. You got to know what you're, do analysis, do your budget. How much do I pay for my rent, my car payments? How much do I pay paying back my loan? You have to know what you need financially. Okay. Then when you talk about money, at least you're talking about the person to the person and knowing what compensation you're looking for. But if you want them to give you the first lead into this. Well,
I like that very much. I also want to interject. Anyone who's watching here on Facebook Live or on Zoom, you can feel free to submit your own questions. Love to answer them. I'll add to this, Mark, that most dentists early in their career earn between $130,000 and $180,000 a year. There are people on other sides of this, but it's just for me to help my audience. If someone said, hey, we got a great job here, we pay our associates $75,000, that's below market value. But then on the other side, Mark, an interviewee may be excited to hear, oh, we expect to pay you $400,000, but that's so high, you need to ask more questions about what's
going on
expected of you. And
what's
it could
happened to
be
you.
a great opportunity, but you also want to make sure your skills match what they're looking for
Exactly right.
as well.
And the other thing we talked about this is that what is the total package? It's
Yeah.
not just how much you're being paid. Are there benefits involved? What are those benefits? What do they look like? Okay. What does vacation time look like? So look at the whole package, not just what the paycheck is going to have.
So key. I love that, the total package look.
Okay.
Now, think about hiring managers who aren't sure about technical skill in general, and let's try to relate it to dentistry. So practice owner is seeing a really nice person in front of them, nice associate dentist, but they're just not so sure about their technical skills. And at the end of the day, Mark, you've seen our associates, you've seen our specialists. You got to be able to deliver the technical skills, the clinical skills. What questions could a practice owner ask? I know you gave us one before. What happens here? What are some questions they could ask to assess this?
Yeah, this is, I'm going to need your help in this, Paul. I mean, again, the open-ended question. So if you say, what is your experience with implants? That's a better question than saying, do you have experience in implants? What's your experience in implants? Tell me about it. What's the most challenging thing you've encountered with implants? Tell me about times where you were not as successful. Yeah. What would you do differently? In other words, you have to probe enough so that person's giving you more information about that particular technical aspect of job, not just closed-end questions. So I guess I'm repeating myself, but it's the same thing.
Well, I like it. You're obviously reinforcing what's important. And even though you don't hire for dentists, you do help you might help a grocery store hire somebody to be, right, head of produce. You might help, a masonry company have someone answer the phone. And really, this is the time practice owners to have them be proud of their experience, but also showcase you if they don't have any, right? And this is one where I'll share, Mark, in dentistry especially, it's okay if you ask, how many times have you done this thing, right? Oh, right. Hey, I know dental school's tough, and I know residency is tough. About how many crowns have you completed? About how many extractions have you completed?
Right.
Just so everyone knows, whether someone says 100 or 200 doesn't mean someone who has 200 has double the expertise. It just gives you context, because if people have only done something 3 times, my expectations, Mark, whether you're a dentist or a manager at a grocery store, you're going to be helping this person a lot with the technical skills. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. And
Like,
what you're really talking about is that both parties have to, that interviewer has to have questions ready and know how to probe. The interviewee has to know how to answer those kind of questions. Okay, to give the person a feeling that I know about crown preps. This is what I've done. I know about implants. This is how I've handled them. You know, so it's got to be. That's the best you can do from a verbal conversation. Obviously, if I see a person do the job, I actually know they know how to do it. But at least in terms of the verbal conversation, I'm getting as much information as I can.
I think this is the point of this conversation, Mark, is that these things, interviews, they give you a sense of what to do next. We're going to talk, bring someone in for an observation day, talk to someone's references. They're not the end all be all to the whole thing. It's just giving you a sense. One of the questions I ask Mark or tell owners to ask is, what have you learned at another job that you think you could bring here to help us,
That's a good question.
Technology.
Yeah.
So if an associate said, oh, at my other office, there was an amazing paperless chart system, or my other office, there was an in-house periodontist, and I learned how to do high-level implants. Now, this is just a uncomfortable part of this process, Mark. If they go, there's nothing else, this is my first job in dentistry, the practice owner's got to know that they have zero experience in the real world. You have to start somewhere with experience, but I'm trying to bring to light is that hiring an associate dentist who's never worked before in the real world is a very challenging situation for a practice owner. Doesn't mean impossible, just challenging.
There's no exact science. I wish I could give you an exact science on this. I recruited for 11 years in very technical fields, and we used to talk about there's always a 10% factor until the person actually shows up and start doing the job. There's no 100% unless you have somebody's highly experienced with a track record. But if you talk about a new person coming in, it's still there's a 10% factor that you can't. I can't give you any foolproof.
And I think that's fair. It's just that you're just trying to get good questions to give you I mean, listen, I want to share something with you. Sometimes hiring a new person who doesn't have bad habits is way better than hiring someone who has ingrained bad habits. So somebody not having a lot of experience isn't a no-go. I'm just trying to help dental practice owners understand that if you hire someone without any actual experience, you have to be able to mentor them. You have to create the time to show them what to do. Now, I don't know what exists in your world, Mark, but we talk about, I am not a fan of clinical working interviews where people that have never been to the office do work on paying patients. I don't think that makes sense. But what I do think makes sense is for people to come in and observe what happens during the game. And you've talked about, tell me this, you've talked about this. I love your tip of, if you were going to come to an observation day, why should they show up 20 minutes early and sit in the waiting room?
Oh, yeah. That's one of my favorite tips. I have that in the book. I learned that a long time ago. Yeah, obviously, you're going, before you go to an office, you're going to do what I call technical intelligence, technology intelligence. Get the website, see what Pennington Dental looks like and all. But there's got to be human intelligence involved. And the way good human intelligence is one where you go, say, for example, I'm going to see Dr. Goodman, and I'm there for a 1:30 interview. I arrive at 1:15. And you say to the receptionist, I'm a little early. Don't announce me yet. I'd like to sit down, just catch my breath and get myself ready for the interview. In those 15 minutes, observe the office. What do you hear? How people relate to each other. When the hygienist comes out and greets a patient, how does that person greet the patient? What kind of literature is there? Are there any brochures? Oh, I see that Pennington Dental has a whole brochure about their practice. What do you see and what do you hear will give you a really good feeling, at least a start of what that practice, what the culture environment is of the practice.
And one of the things I want to share, I'll share a story from today, Mark, because I went to get my hand checked. So I was one of the first visits today at 9 a.m. for my hand follow-up. And my previous experience, I gave them a 10 out of 10 in technical expertise, but about a 4 out of 10 in their systems. The pay thing wasn't right. I was 30 minutes. They made me wait 30 minutes and didn't mention to me it was 30 minutes. But the doctor, 10 out of 10, and the occupational therapist. But today, and this is, my team doesn't even know this yet, I walked in at 8:52 a.m. for my 9 a.m. appointment. 2 people were at the front desk, loudly talking to each other, complaining about a team member that wasn't there, saying you shouldn't do her job, and they didn't even acknowledge me. And it took them, and I was 3 feet away from them. So if I was applying as a hand surgeon there, they're a
Mhm.
reflection of you. And it happened. I kind of want to tell them about it, the doctor, because he probably doesn't know, not to criticize his team, but just be like, hey, it's not a good reflection of you. And I think that's something you see in dental offices. And I think that gives clues to associate it as to what type of culture they're dealing with.
Yeah, we call that waiting room intelligence. Okay.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Mark, if in this could, just you could be asking someone to be observed at like I might say a grocery store, a masonry, an elderly home, or a dental office. If they're there for 4 hours observing and saying, can I work in this place? What's it like? What are some of the things either they should be thinking about, asking? Who would they connect with? If it was you, Mark, and you were observing somewhere, what would you be trying to extract, dental pun intended, from that experience to see if that was a fit for you?
So a working interview, as I've seen them done, is you shadow somebody, right?
Yeah.
You walk along with them for half a day, and you see them work on patients. You see them all the things they're doing, and you observe. How does that dentist work with his or her assistant? Okay, what kind of patients do you have in there? What do the patients sound like? What are they saying to the patients? Are they connecting with them on a personal basis? So it's really it's a great if you can get a working interview. And at the same time, from the interviewer's point of view, a working interview can be like rotation in a hospital where the attending physician walks with the interns and asks questions.
I like your concept. It's really a shadow day, and it's about
Right.
seeing what they do in their real world. The speed of, in dentistry, Mark, and it's probably the same for chefs, the speed at which they work, right? What's the
Right.
pace? What's the pace there? You play golf, it's the pace of play. Listen, a slow golfer isn't worse than a fast golfer, but
Right.
if you're playing with a bunch of fast golfers, you better be ready to hit your ball. And if you're
Yeah.
playing with a bunch of slow golfers, you better be ready to wait. So I think just the pace of which they do it is key.
And even if you're there during lunchtime and people go up to have a lunchroom, they all eat sandwiches together, go up with them and talk.
Yes, that's key. Also, I love that you brought that up. This is if somebody's listening and now are on demand and they want to know the best question to ask the team when they join a dental office or any dental office or any office, right? Walk in your first day, introduce yourself, and say to the team, what's a really good place to get lunch around here? Because we'll use ours, Mark. Oh, you can go to Vito's, you can go to Emily's, you go to Sushi Place, because it lets them be an expert hero. And it lets them say, oh, to this new person, I love the pizza place. I love the restaurant we went to. So I think it's such a great point. Sit with the team as well, because the team is going to be the one. I always say the team is going to be the one that makes your dreams come true or your screams happen. Because there's many people. Have you seen Mark? Wonderful founders with challenging teams, and they hire someone, and you're not working with the founder very much. You're working with the team, and that's really who you should be interviewing.
And that rank and file team will oftentimes give you a very straight answer.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Even if they say it in a way that is kind of false praise. So if you say, how's it like to work here? It's like to work with Dr. So-and-so. Oh, well, he's got his days.
Yeah, yes.
We're about that, right?
I know what I call Mark. You know what they used to say? Read between the lines. I think they should listen between the lines, right?
But that's one of the things I say in the book. One of the classic lines that came out of this book was I coined the phrase "persuade with your ears."
Yeah. Yes. I love that.
A lot of listening and a lot of active listening. Okay, so if somebody says, "Yeah, well, he has his days," can you say more about that? And you'll get more information. So don't be afraid. Remember, the interviewee is also the interviewer.
And one of the things I love this, we're gonna do a few bonus questions if you have a few minutes. I make sure you get a picture of me and Mark team with this, but you've taught me so much more than I can go into this in 30 minutes. But one of your tell me more about that, because a dentist could say, my last associate wasn't committed and they didn't work out well because they weren't committed. And you might be thinking, oh, they were lazy. But what if you say, tell me more about that? And they say, we stayed 3 hours after patient care to see extra patients. Well, that associate was protecting their sanity, because nobody should stay 3 hours after the day's over all the time.
Right.
But if they did say, I like my last associate, but they weren't committed to improving their clinical skills because they don't go to any CE courses, and I invited them to 5 CE courses and they turned me down each time. Well, you might be saying, well, I'm somebody who will go to CE courses. So tell me more about that. Whether people are happy, my team should listen to it. My happy, angry, sad, annoyed, it is the best. Oh, tell me more about that. I had a great day at work.
Tell me more about that. That's exactly right.
Yep, everybody here is lazy. Tell me more about that. So I have a bonus question on the team, but I want to share that people can text tips to 215-798-9897 to schedule a one-on-one call with Mark and get a special discount with nachos. His email is mdorio@dorioconsulting.com. Cell phone 609-306-1187. I have a question, if you could help us with this. Let's say an associate dentist gets 3 good offers and they take an offer and they have to decline the other 2. How do you coach your clients to decline an offer in a classy way, especially if they get a sense that the people are going to be disappointed if they decline working for them? What would you tell them how would you tell them to approach that?
You don't decline the other 2 offers until you started the new job.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. And start it and, and say, okay, I made the right choice. This is good. Okay. And you can usually judge that in a very quick way. If you're going to decline, you really have to put it in a way that, really enjoyed your time with you. You have an excellent practice. I wish all the best. I made a very hard decision and I'm going to go with, let them know where you're going there, but it has nothing to do with you. It was a very hard decision, but this is I thought best for myself, best fit for me at this time.
At this time, I'll add to that. I love what you say. Yeah, best fit, and I'll say if you're open to it, especially in dentistry, Mark, which there's a lot of professional sharing. If you're open to it, let's stay connected. Because I'll tell you, associates, some offices get sold. I'll tell you, sometimes you think a job's going to be great and you want to leave it in 4 weeks and you want to keep a good line of communication with that office, because if they really needed someone, Mark, they'd be happy to have you in 12 weeks. I mean, they would say, some people could be spiteful, but most practice owners like me, if someone said that to me and say, let's stay connected, and then 4 months went by and they said, you know what, that job I took didn't work out well as expected. They were sold, the office closed. I mean, keep these options open for yourself and stay connected in class here. Well, you've shared so much with us, Mark. Stay on for a minute here. I'm going to go off of Facebook Live, but you did an amazing job here. My team can pop on and say hi to us if they would like, Morgan and Serena. I'll also let the people in the chat, if you would like to start your video and ask Mark a question, you can. But every day, Mark, Serena, and Morgan talk with practice owners and associates, so I like to help them do their job better. Morgan, anything that Mark shared that will help you in your travels in the Job Connect world as someone connecting associates and practice owners?
I mean, I really liked how you had mentioned, because we always tell associates go in and just observe the practice before they go in, but even just going in for an interview, and you said just waiting in the waiting room and hearing how they speak, seeing how they treat patients, and just observing the office in that way too before you even go into the interview, I thought was really important and something that I'm gonna make sure I
say go early, but then just say don't announce me. It's a good reminder for our office, because you're going to see how the team operates and you're going to hear things behind the scene. You're also going to see how the patients are being talked to on the phone, which is a big key to your success. Serena, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think visiting the office and just kind of observing generally is important. And then I liked the open-ended questions. I think that's really important in any aspect in life. Even when we talk to practice owners about their practice, just I feel like people feel more comfortable once it's kind of open-ended and not a yes or no answer. So I thought that was great tip.
And if I'm telling you, anyone who's listening this long, you talk to a practice owner the next hour, said, I tried hiring an associate and it never worked out. Oh, tell me more about that. And sometimes you find out they put out one ad once in 2005, and then you have an opportunity to share how the world's different. I think when people have negative experiences, Mark, I think they tend to, as you know, overvalue them as happening all the time. And if you give them the space to share it, sometimes they get to see that their negativity really is holding them back. So I love that. Next time your friends are upset, they're just complaining, say, oh, tell me more about that. It also just seems you seem like an incredibly kind person, because you give them the space to keep ranting. At some point you have to stop them. But well, Mark, thanks for everything. I'm glad you put this in today. We'll get you the recording. People who joined us on Zoom, thanks for being here with us, and people can connect with Mark for a one-on-one consult and get you deal.
All the best to you.
Thanks so much, Mark. This is awesome.
Thank you,
Mark.
Thank you, Serena. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye, guys.